accounting and sustainability teams together around financial grade data. Our award-winning software solutions untangle your building and utility bill information and consolidates your data into one single source of truth. Try EnergyCAP Utility Management for portfolio-level energy and sustainability reporting, EnergyCAP Carbon Hub for financial-grade greenhouse gas accounting, and EnergyCAP Smart Analytics for real-time energy and sustainability analytics. EnergyCAP helps customers who are drowning in paper bills, manual processes, and cumbersome spreadsheets and enables them to execute, analyze, and report on the energy and decarbonization projects needed to create a more sustainable world.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Karen Shunk with the Energy Management Association. I'd like to welcome you to today's webinar and thank EnergyCAP for sponsoring today's session. A few items before we get started. This presentation is being recorded and will be available for viewing in about a week. Presenters will be holding questions until the end of the presentation, but we encourage you to submit them at any time using the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. If you happen to be experiencing technical problems, please use the Q&A button to let us know, and our producer, William, will attempt to assist you. In terms of continuing education credit, everyone in attendance for the full webinar will receive a certificate of attendance sent to their email within 24 hours. And finally, if you are a certified CXA or EMP, your CEUs for attending will be automatically uploaded to your respective portals within about a week. Today's webinar is Uncovering Waste, the hidden stories your utility bills tell, a panel discussion moderated by Amber Artrip, Vice President of Marketing at EnergyCAP. Amber's based in the Bay Area, although she's stuck here in DC today, thanks to the weather. She has over a decade of experience in the energy and sustainability software industry, where she's committed to fostering a sustainable and equitable future. I'll hand it off now to Amber to introduce today's panelists. Amber?
Thank you so much, Karen. And thank you to everyone who's tuning in. I'm looking at the participant numbers continuing to rise, well over 150 folks on the call today. So thank you so much for joining us. I am so excited about today's session. We are going to be talking about what we really value and appreciate the most here at EnergyCAP, which is utilizing utility bill data to uncover savings, prevent waste, reduce your energy consumption, and more importantly, save some serious money. And I'm not going to talk for long because you probably don't want to hear from me, but we have two really great customers of ours who are going to share exactly how they are using software and technology and best practices today to do just that with their utility bills. So I'm so excited to be joined today by Markus from CSU Fullerton. He is the utility and energy analyst there, as well as Kupka from UC San Diego, also the utility and energy analyst. Markus, will you go ahead and tell the folks a little bit about yourself?
Yes, thank you for having me. So yes, I'm Markus. I'm at the CSU Fullerton, Cal State Fullerton. I've been here since 2022. I started my energy management career in about 2015 as a consultant for K-12 schools. About 2018, I moved over to public K-12. And then in 2022, I transferred over here to a campus I know pretty well, Cal State Fullerton. I've been here since.
I love it. Thank you so much, Markus. Carly, off to you to give a brief intro on yourself.
Yeah, I'm Carly. I'm the utility and energy analyst at UC San Diego. I'm from Oregon, and I graduated from the University of Oregon with a graduate degree in sustainability. Was working in stormwater management, and then got a job opportunity to come to UC San Diego as a utility and energy analyst. So they took a chance on me with very little utility and energy background. And I came here in 2017 and been here ever since. So stoked to be here. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. And so we've got two really great higher education stories today for you guys, but I think that a lot of what we're going to talk about can translate across all different industries. But super excited, especially as a California girl, to have a couple of great California universities represented on today's session. So let's move on We're going to talk a little bit today about specifically utility data management, how these two organizations had previously been managing their utility bill data and how that has changed and how they're operating today, how they use utility data to identify waste, and how to detect anomalies and inefficiencies in their operations using utility data. And finally, we'll end with how do you take all of this good work that you're doing and share it with the key stakeholders who oftentimes carry the budgets, the key to the budget. So we'll get into that. And at the end of the session, we will have time for a Q&A. So please feel free to drop your questions into the chat as we are going along. We'll get to as many as we can. Before we start today, we're going to do a quick little poll. We want to understand, how are you, the folks who are on the call, there's 170 of you, how are you tracking utility bill data today? Maybe you're not tracking it today. Maybe you're tracking mostly in spreadsheets. Maybe you're using software, which is great. Or maybe you have a blend of software and spreadsheets. So go ahead and just, we'll take a minute here to get a pulse for the folks we have on the call, which will kind of help us in our talk track and make sure we can relate to you. All right, Marcus, let's see the results. Sorry, Will, let's see the results. There we go. Okay, quite a few people are not tracking today, and that's okay. You are in the right place. We are here to help. You're gonna walk away today with some really great ideas. With 32% of you not tracking today, 21% are mostly in spreadsheets, which are a great start. I always say at EnergyCAP, spreadsheets are our top competitor because they work, but it's not necessarily the easiest or most sustainable. And 22% are mostly in software, and a good chunk, 25%, are using a blend of both. Very interesting, kind of spread across the board. Okay, let's get into it. So the way we're going to host this particular session today is we'll just pose a question to both Carly and Markus, and we'll just have a conversation. We'll keep it conversational. So the first question is, tell us a little bit about your data journey. How did you manage utility data in the past, and how are you managing it today? So Markus, I'd love to start with you on that one.
Yeah, great question. So when I started in 2015, we were using EnergyCAP, and we were inputting bills in manually. So we would get our data anywhere from 30 to 30 plus days whenever bills take to come in. Now versus today, where we are not only getting utility bills electronically quicker, we're also utilizing interval data, sub-meter data, and we're getting pretty granular and also getting the frequency of data sooner and faster as well.
Sorry, I was on mute. Carly, why don't you tell us a little bit about your journey?
Sorry, mute too. So I started at UC San Diego in 2017, and August of 2017. And at that point, everything was being done in spreadsheets. There was one person responsible for recharging. So we're a recharge operation. We have around almost 2,000 meters on our campus that need to be read every month, the data needs to be put into a bill and then sent out. And then we also have the AP side of it where we're being charged for our own utilities. So that was separate, and it was all being done on spreadsheets. Like I said, we had one full-time employee. It took him an entire month to read the meters, create bills, assign rates. And then when I came on, we were set to go live with EnergyCAP in January 2018. So I had a couple months to kind of get up to speed. And once we made the switch over to EnergyCAP, everything became heck of a lot easier. We basically decided, okay, if we're going to be using EnergyCAP, let's use it to its fullest. So we use everything from, we upload all of our vendor bills. We use the, I'm blanking on the word. We upload all of our bills in EnergyCAP, and then we pay all of our bills through EnergyCAP, and then we recharge all of our bills through EnergyCAP. Everything from the reading of the meter to the recharging of customers takes about a week, which once took a month. Like Markus, we also have all of our meters now coming directly into EnergyCAP interval data. So instead of actually reading the meters, the data just gets rolled up every month into a monthly read. And bills are ready within a week. My reports and analysis that we'll be talking about later that we share with our stakeholders can get out the second month. So that's quite a jump from, by the time the reports and everything were getting out, it was almost 2 months in arrears prior to using EnergyCAP. So it's definitely expedited our process a lot.
That's amazing. And tell me, I mean, it sounds like you're saving weeks of time each month.
Yes.
How are you repurposing that time? Are you focusing now on other types of projects or what does it open up?
Yeah, 100%. My job now is focused way more on, instead of, correcting the bills, doing all the bills, taking a whole, month-long process. I'm now focusing on getting the data out to our customers and focusing on energy savings and sustainability reporting. And then our meter reader, he was the one who was doing all the reads. Well, now that he has an extra 3 weeks a month, his position is actually merged with another one on campus. And so we basically freed up an entire, FTE for our department budget. So that's a benefit to them too.
Amazing. And what I love about the parallels between both of your stories, it sounds like you both, the organization started with utility data and then have kind of progressed into more granular data that gives you more and more insight into what's happening in your building. Is that a normal trajectory, Markus, would you say?
Yes. When we talk about getting granular with our data, we want to make sure that we're capturing as much as we can, and then being able to analyze it as well. Before we would only have, when I was working for the K through 12 school districts, fortunately we only had 1 meter in, 1 meter out type of thing, and we would only be able to capture it 30 days after the utility bill came through. Now with a little bit more technology and the software, we're able to see the interval data and as soon as almost sometimes in real time, if not in 24 hours. So capturing any types of spikes or any type of inefficiencies, are being able to react to it as soon as possible instead of waiting that 30 days while that machinery is still going on.
Yep, I love it. I always think about it as like utility bill data is a great place to start. Like manual utility data of processing the bills is a great place to start if you're not doing it today, which, there's quite a few folks on the call who aren't doing that today. So it's a really great place. I think using software to streamline that utility data and your access to it is even better. And it's great to see kind of the evolution of like the next kind of step is getting more granular and more advanced as you go. So it's really cool to see both organizations go in that direction.
And also wanted to add, Amber, using the bill capture and then also using a utility management, being able to flag bills as they're coming in instead of, probably Carly could understand when you get a stack of, I don't know, maybe a couple dozen worth of bills and you have to enter them in and move on to another project. Here, as it gets in, comes through, gets flagged. So the ones that are good can keep going through while the other ones stand out for you to do a little extra digging into.
That's the perfect segue, Markus, into our next question, which is, can you share a specific example of using bill data to identify wasted money, wasted energy, wasted time? It sounds like flags are one of those tools that you use. What else? How else? Or if you want to elaborate any more on specific flags or any other ways that you identify.
Well, actually, when this question was proposed, when I saw this up here, I thought of a pretty specific example. Here on Cal State Fullerton, we have a Trigen, a natural gas turbine engine, and 2 absorption chillers to recover the waste heat. On a biannually basis, we have to get that maintained and fixed up. And so prior to my coming over here, it would be just done periodically on the regular basis, without the thought of how much impact with downtime of having that Trigen down would cost on our grid electricity. looking through the data, the utility bill data, I was able to look at, how much demand charges were being acquired, time of use rate charges were being acquired just for this 2 or 3 day period that it was down, and then shifting that maintenance plan shutdown for a low demand segment of our school year. So on on Easter or on a spring break or on a long weekend instead of on a really fully occupied portion of the semester. And that reduced some of our bills down, $50,000 to $60,000 bills on our main electric.
Wow. Super, super impressive. Great, great example there. Carly, would you have any stories you'd like to share? Specific examples?
Yeah, a very specific example came to mind for us too when I was posing this question. So we, like I said, we recharge data through EnergyCAP, but we also receive our vendor bills into EnergyCAP. They come in automatically via EDI. And the one little disconnect that we still have in our department that we're working on is our AP, our person who pays the bills, is a separate person than me. So a lot of times I don't necessarily have eyes on what she pays before it gets into EnergyCAP. We have since changed that, but at this time, it was back in September of last year, I think, or maybe earlier. At this time, I didn't have eyes on what she was paying. And we've been having some issues with one of our vendors, and one of our vendors tried to bill us on a water leak that happened on their side of the meter. Yet they included all that usage and costs on our side. And we ended up getting a bill for almost $1 million over when it shouldn't have been even close to that. And in EnergyCAP, when it comes in, you can spot it like instant. You could see it.
Oh, is that the example we have here?
Yeah, if you want to share it.
Yeah.
It's just a silly little picture, but like I could come here and easily see like, whoa, something's not right. We went back to the city. We were able to discuss, that wasn't our leak, that was your leak. And they, of course, refunded us. This is actually a housing and dining meter. So they were stoked to get that money back. So that was $1 million savings right there. And yeah, as Markus mentioned, we also track real time, well, close to real time. Like he said, we're about 24 hours behind as well. But we also track water leaks on an ongoing basis. Water is a lot easier to track. We want to do the same for energy as well. But water right now is you can catch a water leak in real time. And since we've started tracking we started tracking in 2017, but since we've started collecting our savings, our potential savings, I think since fiscal year 24, we've saved over close to 200,000. I think I have another visual here. Yeah, over 200,000 in potential water leaks had we not caught them. And the only way we're able to catch them is by looking at the live interval data in EnergyCAP, seeing the spikes, sending out an email to the plumbers or to the irrigation people, having them get on it quickly, fix it, and then move on. So that's been really cool too. That's been highlighted a lot at UC San Diego because our water goals are pretty strict in amount of reduction, and this is definitely helping lead the way on that.
Great stories. We love to see like concrete cost savings, especially in these types of dashboards. It's really great stuff. So let's move on. What methods do you use to detect anomalies in your utility data? Markus, I'll pass this one on to you.
All right. Yeah, I still do the same things I've been doing for about 10 years now. And that's the first time I get to an institution, I try to understand the operational hours, and just in general, how the institution works. From there, I look through our utility data, interval data, any sort of data that we can pull together to kind of determine a baseline of our usage. From then, it's lucky for me, I can kind of set my schedule so I could bookend either early mornings or in the evenings. Even during this break, I was in the office and able to kind of visually look around the campus, see how the buildings are operating when no one's here, when they should be down or offline, and then identify any inefficiencies. From there, I do go back to the utility data and see how that kind of impacts our utility data plus our performance or cost. And then from there, I will either make some suggestions to certain stakeholders, or understand why is this equipment running at this point in time? Why are these buildings operating? Every institution I've been to has been a little bit more unique. Here at Cal State Fullerton, we produce quite a bit of power that we're not allowed to export. Sometimes we have to do a little bit of a burn. Um, Beyond that, there's certain things that need to be operating when we have like classes out in session.
And we were talking as we were preparing for this, and I remember you were telling me a story about a slow pool leak. That you,
Yeah.
which seems to be a common theme of like these water leaks and being able to detect them just with monthly bill data. You want to tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so a small water leak, and this was before my time, but if I look at the bills, you take away from like the seasonal fluctuations when, either the water polo or the swim team are playing, you could see this kind of creep of water usage going up and up and up, and kind of hidden behind different, rate changes, rate escalations. The cost is going up, but is the usage still kind of going up, creeping and creeping? This was brought to, a couple different departments to kind of understand, has this been normal? Has this been how this operates? Until we finally decided and looked into it with a little bit more data help, that no, there is probably a leak going on in the pool. Sure enough, there was a leak, and it didn't take long until that leak started to grow even further and faster, which, putting the dollar figures behind how much is wasted, and presenting that to the right people made it a right choice to drain and reseal that pool.
That's a great story. What about you, Carly? What methods do you use?
Yeah, we've relied heavily on the audit flags that EnergyCAP has. They are tailored to, you can go in and you can tell EnergyCAP what bills you want to flag, and how to flag them, so you can make it really sensitive, not so sensitive. So we kind of spent, quite a few months tailoring the flags. Sometimes we'd get flags that we didn't want, so we really fine-tuned it. You can do this in spreadsheets too, in which we were doing before, variance reports. But what we really like about EnergyCAP is that it's just so easy to see. It does it for you. So this is just a screenshot of our bill creation process. You can set up bill creation steps. You can see we have 21 of them, which is kind of a lot. You don't need that many, but we do it by commodity. So once the reads are all uploaded, then we go in and we'll create the electric submeter bills. And as you can see, it'll say 814 bills created, 48 of them have flags. So we'll go and go one by one. Some of the flags are pretty easy. You can filter by what kind of flag it is. But it's made it pretty streamlined for us to identify the variables and the variances. And it was, before doing this, we had a lot of billing errors, just like a lot of vendors do. We have so many meters and there's only one of us, me. And, stuff just slips through, and, so we were constantly having to make corrections. You get a corrected bill from your vendor, like that happens all the time. But now when it happens, we are actually, like, if a bill, something gets misbilled, we're actually really confused on why that would have happened. We go back, we look, we figure out how that would have slipped through our audit flag. Was it human error? Was it an audit flag error? So we've really had to kind of fine tune, figure out how to use the audit flags. And it is pretty much foolproof once you nail down how to effectively use them.
Yeah,
I love
bill
that.
corrections are always great when you have to tell the utility company that I think you've made an error.
Yeah.
We have a bill that comes in quarterly, and that kind of gets passed through as quickly as possible to get paid. Well, this last summer, it did flag, EnergyCAP flagged it, and it's like, wait a minute, this is a lot more than the last couple quarter bills, and then we were able to get about a third of it back, which was about $36,000.
Ooh, That's great. Yeah, I wonder like how many of those just mistakes go through the payment process, and these, these bad bills are getting paid just because there's not enough time in the day to review them all manually, right?
And then Carly, 21, we have 13 on our workflow.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Well, and I've like, there's certain meters that like, vendor bills that we get late. So I've really like some of those steps literally only have like one bill creation process, but it's just a reminder for me to pay special attention, to this meter and this bill, or make sure to go back to last month and rerun the process because we got the vendor bill in late, stuff like that. But it's really helped me keep track of those little, nuances and anomalies that I sometimes don't remember, month over month.
have you had any issues with vendors changing the units of their commodity? So we had one of our water companies, they changed from gallons to H gallons.
Oh,
And yeah, that I think would have been a mess if I was still using spreadsheets to be able to go back and change all the units and conversions correctly. But EnergyCAP was able to capture that and do the conversion for me throughout our
oh yeah.
chargeback bills. Yeah.
Yeah, the conversion is real nice, the
Mhm.
conversion piece.
I remember too, Carly, when we were initially talking about this particular question, you brought up data hierarchy and how
Yeah.
you guys spent a lot of time on the upfront, making sure you had the data organized in a way that was going to work for you guys. Do you want to just talk a little bit about that for maybe the folks who they're not doing this today, they don't have software yet? What advice would you give to them on that data hierarchy piece?
Yeah, well, even with, EnergyCAP being as like user friendly as it is, there was a little unique situation. Some bills that when we were first figuring this out, some bills were getting passed on to the customer that like clearly were not right. It was maybe a meter rollover, and we could not figure out why they weren't flags. We were submitting tech tickets to EnergyCAP being like, why isn't this flagged? This doesn't make sense. It's clearly, $100,000 or something. Like it was a clearly over. Um, and we found out that basically the way you have your hierarchy set up in EnergyCAP, you need to have everything, all the meters nested under a building. And then that building has to be tied to a zip code, because then the zip code is tied to a weather station, which EnergyCAP uses to normalize the data for weather and then create the audit flag. So let's say if some of these meters were like irrigation meters and they weren't really under a building, they were just like in open spaces. So we didn't have it nested under a building with a zip code. Therefore, EnergyCAP wouldn't look at it to audit because it didn't have all the information it needed to create an audit flag. So we quickly learned that we need to, okay, have every meter under a building with a zip code for it to receive a glance or an audit flag from EnergyCAP. So yeah, there were some growing pains, but like I said, once you figure it out, it's pretty foolproof.
Great stuff. All right, let's move on to our next question here, which is, all this is great. We've talked about a lot of different ways to find savings, but how do you share that with stakeholders? How do you tell that story, and particularly in a way to help you get more budget for energy projects? Markus, I know we've been talking a lot about this, but I'd love your take on it.
Yeah, it's a great question. The first thing I would do is identify, sometimes it's not my directors or supervisors, it might be a cross department, utilizing those reports and kind of showing that where the kind of the efficiencies and the operations and the impact that would be made if we kind of did something a little bit different, tweak the procedures or the operations as it goes along. But when we want to make institutional changes, we're taking high level, especially when it comes to budget constraints. I really like that I've got on board with the RDBI, which links my utility management database to my Power BI, where I can not, now it's gone from creating a PowerPoint presentation that's static and moving it along to actually something that's free flowing. I could show them in almost kind of in a fluid motion how much this is costing us and what would happen if we made these changes. One of the examples I have is that going back to our trigen, it's reaching its end of life. It's about 5 more years into a 30-year lifespan. and it really helps us out with our efficiencies on electricity. We pay about a third of a unit cost versus buying it from the grid, and I was able to this data, create some virtual meters in EnergyCAP, um, tie it to the average unit cost of our grid electricity, and subtract what we have to pay for to maintain and operate the trigen, and show how much more we would be spending if we bought all our electricity straight from the grid. And that was a simple calculation. It could probably go into even more depths, but even with that, we were surpassing how much we pay in maintenance charges, operational charges, and still breaking on a profit. So I'm hoping here in the future we'll be able to continue the lifespan of that trigen just by showing the value of it.
Yeah, and I'll just add, beyond just particular projects, Markus is a pro at building a business case. He's teaching our team a thing or two about building a business case, and so in a few weeks we'll have some content inspired by Markus on if you don't have energy and sustainability software today, how to pitch it.
And
internal folks.
yeah, and I'll go to the people that are still using spreadsheets. I can feel your pain. So my background is in data. My background is in mathematics. So I'm really heavily into the data. And prior to being able to get RDBI, I would have or utility management, either one of those. I would take my data from my energy management software, download into a spreadsheet, format it, calculate it the way I want, then upload it up to another software to do further analysis, which made me very nervous. Switching hands so many times, changing it up. If any calculation or anything was messed up, it would probably propagate through the entire software, through the entire process. So now that I have like RDBI and utility management, data is not moving as so much between one hand to the other hand. It's staying the same, and it's coming to me the way I want it formatted.
I love it. Great stuff, Markus. What about you, Carly?
Well, yeah, this has kind of been like the bread and butter of my job and professional development, is getting the data out to our stakeholders. So it's one thing to get a bill, it's another thing to get, a profile, an energy profile of either your building or your area of campus. And one of the things we've really run into issues with is the people who pay the bills on behalf of the buildings or the area of campus are different from the users of the energy within the buildings. So we're a super lab heavy campus. And so the researchers and scientists within the lab buildings, pretty much the last thing on their mind is, saving energy, saving water. Yet we have these pretty strict sustainability goals that we're trying to meet. So the question is, how do we get into the actual users of the buildings to care about this? And the first step is just the data. Let's get the data out to them. Let's see how their lab building compares to another lab building, similar in size, or we'll break it down by square foot for them. Let's get them to care. We've created like a Green Labs program with incentives to incentivize change. But if they're changing, then they want to be able to see the change in the utility data. So that's kind of been our next frontier. I have currently taken it upon myself to, Markus, it's a little old school, kind of like you said, but I am currently taking the EnergyCAP exported data into an Excel spreadsheet and then uploading it into Tableau. Tableau is my visualization software of choice. However, I will say we are in the process of hosting EnergyCAP data on our own private server. And once we do that, the communication between EnergyCAP data and Tableau will not only be live, but it'll be seamless and automatic. So I'm really excited about that. But at this point, my main goal is we meet with all of our auxiliary customers, housing and dining. I think this example is, let's see, housing and dining. We meet with them before the beginning of the year and we say, okay, here's your utility budget for the year. And then every single month, I'm taking all that data, I'm compiling it, and basically showing them, here's where you're at. Here's your budget is the black line. Here's where you're over, and then we break it down by commodity. So electricity is going over, water is going over, high temp chilled water are going over. And then we break it down even one step further by building. Okay, which buildings are really driving that variance year over year? And then we can even go into the meters. So we try and present it to them in a high level, like here's why you should care, here's your budget. And then let's dig into what is actually driving that variance year over year. Being a university, we have so many different stakeholders. We have students who care about the energy usage, the Green New Deal, sustainability efforts. We also have EnergyCAP provides public-facing dashboards. So we also utilize those where students can go in, or anyone, if they're public, but anyone can go in and just see the energy usage of their building. So it's kind of tailoring the reports to which stakeholder we're sharing information with. But yeah, at this point, those are the two avenues that we're sharing our data.
Amazing. Yeah, we'll have to get access to that dashboard if we can share it with the folks after the fact. That'd be amazing. I don't know
Yeah.
if dashboard, but that would be great.
Yeah, I can definitely the EnergyCAP one we can share because that's in our Blink. Yeah, that's public for everyone. So
love it. Well, are kind of jammed through our questions in our talk track, but we have a ton of questions coming in from the audience. So if you haven't dropped your question in yet, please do so now. But we've got quite a few to go through. A really good one here, I think, to start with, and I'll just ask the question and pose it to both of you. Can we talk about getting started? What if you only have 1 meter campus wide? How do I upload historical data? And like, do I need staff to upload and analyze that data? That comes from Natalia Paredes. Any of you have any thoughts on that? I think that's a common one, having only 1 meter on a campus.
So yeah, I could probably relate to that. Being at the K through 12, usually only have 1 meter for each commodity going into the school. And then you're talking about uploading historical data. Are we thinking about uploading it into EnergyCAP to utility management? If so, I mean, we utilize a bill capture, which makes it, pretty painless for us. But if you're going to be starting with like a spreadsheet, then it is to categorize all those line items and then start, from one by one, entering into each bill from each month. I don't think you need to go back too far. Usually about 4 years, depending. We do have the COVID years, so those kind of always skew any type of usage. So if you can get back to 2018, 2019, and then 2020, 2021 to 2022, I would say that'd be great.
yeah, and I'll just echo the bill capture. Is it an add-on? Is that what you'd call it to EnergyCAP? But once all your bills are scanned, the actual PDF of your bill, you just submit it to bill capture and then they upload it into EnergyCAP for you. If you don't have the PDF and you just have the spreadsheet, like Markus said, you can also upload, there's a spreadsheet upload format that you can put all your data in. And yeah, you can do historical bills. You can go back as far as you want if you want to through bill capture. They'll upload all that for you. And then once it's in EnergyCAP, that's when you can start analyzing. I will also say too, the reports that come from EnergyCAP are like the bread and butter also for data analysis. You can run, how many reports are there? How many hundred? There's hundreds of reports, just instant, one click, you select the filters, but you could upload all your data and then run a report to analyze all that data for you. Some of the reports get spit out with graphs already, pie charts. I mean, it can make you look really smart without really having to do much.
Spot on, Carly. EnergyCAP's been around for 40 years, specializing in utility bill and energy management. And so those reports that Carly's talking about are 40 years of our expertise and of what we've heard from folks like Carly and Markus and hundreds of other energy and sustainability leaders across the country. And what do they need? What do they find most helpful? And so we have a whole database full of reports that you can get access to. And then bill capture is our managed service offering for those who don't want to have to mess with utility bill data again, we can handle it for you. That's kind of my pitch for bill capture. So if you have any questions about that, visit our website, energycap.com. We can help you out.
Yeah, I could say the bill capture helped us. When I started in 2015, there was no bill capture, and we were entering each bill one by one, line item by line item by line item, and that would take it would take a day, take 2 days, but it was time consuming, and you don't really analyze the bills when you're just loading them up in chunks. With bill capture, you could scan it, upload it, and then they'll take care of the any flags or any outliers.
I love it. I've got another question here. For someone who is just beginning to review energy data, what are some first places I should start looking to find irregularities or billing errors?
Well, I would start with understanding your baseline.
Yep, that's exactly what I was going to say.
Finding where that baseline is and using like interval data, picking like the holidays or depending what your institution is, finding the off hours when everything is supposed to be off. When I first started doing energy audits, I was never really around when people were around. I was always around when no one was around, because that's when energy was being wasted. I would say, while you're working, with your class, use all the things, all the tools, all the equipment that you need to use to get your job done. But once you're off the clock, that's when everything needs to be shut down. So looking at interval data, identifying the baseline, and going from there, doing some physical audits on your campus to see what shouldn't be running.
Yeah, I'll just echo what Marcus said. Identifying the baseline is one of the most important pieces. So what's normal use for your campus, or not everyone's on campus, for your institution? And with that, you do need some historical. If you don't have any historical data, then getting the energy use or the utility data somewhere where you can start establishing a baseline. At the very least, try and get, a year's worth, so you can start identifying seasonality pieces. And then, once you get a second year of data, then you can kind of compare the two and so on and so on. So understanding what's normal is kind of a good first step.
Yeah, and understanding weatherization, yeah, like you said.
Yeah, weatherization's a big deal too.
Solid advice. Here's a really interesting question that if you were not a campus, how might you convince a single commercial building to consider the importance of this software?
It's always been about money's always been the biggest driver. And if you can pinpoint, how much excess money is being wasted, and the point is it's being wasted. It's not being utilized. It's not being correctly being addressed. Showing how much more money they could save or how much more money they could avoid spending is the key. I know in EnergyCAP and utility management, they have the cost avoidance and use avoidance. If that could be shown that this is dollars speak, if it can be shown that if you can save your money, I think a lot of people will be interested in listening.
Yeah, and there's data out there from the Department of Energy that shows that on average, people who implement not EnergyCAP, but just any sort of energy or utility software see around 3% savings year over year. And then a year ago, we surveyed our customers to understand kind of how, since they've implemented EnergyCAP, how they've seen savings. And most of our customers report 10% or more year over year savings. So, I mean, I would also look at your utility bill annual costs and just like, to be safe, just say 1%. Let's say we'll save 1%. And how much is the cost of the software compared to that? And start to build your business case from there, and pretty guaranteed you're probably going to see more than 1% savings. So it's a pretty All right, we got a couple more questions here. For a campus that does not have a dedicated resource like Carly and Marcus, who could manage this process and provide the same level of value? It's a good question.
Well, I can tell you, before I got into this role, it was done more by administrative, and the focus was just doing the chargebacks and recouping as much utility costs as we can from our clients. And once again, yeah, so it can be used by multiple different type of professions. I think I said this yesterday in our other chat. It's several different buckets I would put people in. Carly and myself would probably be the energy managers, the kind of data driven. Then there's facility managers, operators that could utilize this as well, down to face forward sustainability managers, and then finally these administrators that would be able to take advantage of it. It comes down to, with the administrators, they could see the cost benefit of that. Operators can see the operational efficiencies. Sustainability managers, they are able to uh, give be able to present the what the goals and what has been done in the program, and be able to visualize that and show it off. And then energy managers, as well as us, finding the inefficiencies.
Yeah, I would echo all that Marcus said as well. And I will say, before my position was created, we had a meter reader. So he was kind of the guy on the ground reading the meters, making sure the meters were running, getting electricians if a meter needed to be fixed. And then business and finance department were the ones that were actually taking the meter data, creating the bills and spreadsheets and all that. So, anyone in the finance area could definitely benefit and use this type of software as well.
Yeah. And I'll just add to that, for some smaller organizations and campuses, there are also some energy consultants, ESCOs out there that can help you execute energy projects, and some that we partner with that use EnergyCAP to execute their work. So that's also an option if you don't have anyone in-house to manage it. And if you want to make some connections to those types of folks, feel free to reach out to me. We can get you connected. So many questions, you guys. This is great. We got a question here. Have you had an opportunity to use this software in conjunction with a retro commissioning of a building that is using more energy than usual, and how did it go?
Have you, Marcus?
So yeah, I have one of my certificates is in measurement and verification, and I haven't been able to use it as much as I would like. But we went with the full suite of EnergyCAP, adding the other software modules. One of them is Smart Analytics, and it has an MVP built into it as well. And that's one concern that I've had while I've been here, is our capital projects, new buildings that are coming online, or like the retrofits or retro commissionings of different floors, removing and replacing equipment. We were always taking the word of the contractor on its efficiency, or what type of changes it would be making. So now with the with EnergyCAP Smart Analytics, we have a new project going in with new heat exchangers into our central plant, with our Trigen, and I'll be utilizing that to verify what we took out versus what we're putting in. I believe option C of the M&V protocol, and so that will be that's going to be a great first time using that. And then also with our buildings, newer buildings that we're going to be demolishing. We're going to be doing a new student housing section, so we're taking out student housing phase 1 and putting student housing phase 5. Phase 1 was built in the late 90s, so you could tell it was just big concrete building, with not the greatest efficiency, with a newer building with solar panels and batteries on it. So it's going to be a big change, but the life cost, we need to do a life cost analysis. Are we going to be saving that cost and usage?
Yeah, and I'll just add, we're a fully self-funded department, so we have a separate financial model that basically, all the cost of our cost to operate is built into, our rates and all that. So that's like a whole other person's job that I work very closely with. The utility piece is just one piece of that. We also add in, the maintenance and operational costs. But one of the biggest, our campus is going through a huge growth spurt right now. And one of the biggest factors in this model is the new buildings projections or the retro commissioning. And that's my job. So my job is to get, as close as I can to projecting what these new buildings are going to be using. And when there's, 50 new buildings coming online in the next 10 years, there's a lot to consider and a lot to factor in, or retro commissioning projects. So I'm in constant contact, with the CPMs, using our utility data baseline, inputting all that data into the model that we use separately, to track, where we're going to be in 10 years versus where we are now. And do we have the capital to cover it, and debt service and all that kind of stuff. So it's the EnergyCAP and the utility management is just a small piece of that, but an important one, a very important one.
Yeah, and I would add to that as well too. Sometimes it really does get overlooked quite a bit. Is we get this energy and this focus on building brand new buildings, but we don't think about what kind of impact that will have on our, not just our utilities, but so like us, we have 3 different power sources: grid, our trigen, and our solar PV. Can our thermal energy load, can we withstand that new load?
Right. Or do we need to create a whole new plant?
Yeah.
Or expand our plant? Yep, that's been a big part of it too. We actually just did a CUP expansion project because of all the load that we're adding. So yeah, good point, Marcus.
Yeah, and it was funny. It's a thing that when I learned, the most efficient buildings are sometimes the dumbest buildings, if you want to call it that.
The newest ones are the worst.
Yeah, because they have so many smart. They're smart. They've got all the electronics. They got all these little gadgets. When I started, it was programmable thermostats.
Yeah.
And now it was the best running schools were the ones that had twist timers, because they would just they would turn off by themselves.
Like, what's old is new again. Should we just get back to the motion sensor lights?
Yeah, serious.
I love it. I got a couple questions here for you, Carly. One of them was on the screenshot. I see 3 bills covering the same period in February. If this is an issue, was it identified by a human or system? Let me see if I can find what they're talking about. Was it?
It was probably the very first would be my guess.
This one.
This one, probably, right?
Yes.
So see the flags on the very far left? All these bills have been flagged. Likely, obviously the circle is telling us, there's a flag. There can be multiple flags for one bill. So one of the flags is saying abnormal usage, abnormal cost, but all those other flags, I guarantee, are saying duplicate billing. Why are there 2 bills coming in for February? Why are there 3 bills coming in for March? 100%, you can tailor. So if you see the flags up at the top too of that screenshot, you can go in and see which flags apply to which bill, and then you can review it. In this specific case, our vendor, I honestly couldn't really tell you. Our vendor, yeah. But that was done, those flags were done by EnergyCAP.
I feel like we could do an entire webinar on flags.
Yes.
Looking at that, it looks like February, the first one is a quarterly bill that came through. Yeah.
Totally. Yeah, you can see the bill begin and end date if I took the time to actually look at it.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, that's the exported to GL on date. Sorry, I was looking at the wrong one.
Yeah, that's when we exported it, but the bill beginning and end too. It looks like EnergyCAP is putting both those as February, so then you could go and manually change it, to one of them be January, one of them be February, if you care, if you need to. There's a lot you could do with that.
Well, you guys, we have one more question on this one, actually, is how do you quantify the savings from a water leak? We said we identified $1 million. How do you quantify that?
Oh, on this $1 million one?
I guess.
Or water leaks in general. So that's that water leaks in general. Yeah. How do you quantify? How do you know how long, a water leak would have gone on? I think I'm actually not the one who quantifies that. Our meter reader / the guy who took on more responsibility is the one who tracks all that, but it's an estimate. So let's say this water leak were to go on, I think maybe he might use like a year or something. Let's say the water leak were to go on for a year. How much cost would that cost compared to us finding it now? So yeah, there's no good way to quantify a water leak. What if it went on for 10 years, like Marcus said in the pool? So it's just kind of a rough estimate on what we would have saved. But yeah, that's kind of unique. In this case, in the $1 million one, you can see the baseline. We should be charged, approximately 20 to 23,000 a month. It's pretty obvious how much it was over. So in those two cases, yeah.
Perfect. Well, great stuff, you guys. We are out of time. We have a couple more surveys we'd like to ask you just to get some feedback. If Will, you don't mind throwing this up here, a quick question. Was this helpful? Yes or no? Just let us know. We want some feedback on how we can improve and keep creating great content for you guys. And thank you so much, Carly and Marcus. You guys are rock stars. I feel like we could do this for 3 hours and still have more things to talk about and more questions coming in. So I really appreciate it. All right, well, let's see. What does the audience say? Oh, 90%. Yeah, I'll take it. I'll take it. I love it. And then finally, Will, if you don't mind throwing this one up, we talked a lot about EnergyCAP. And if any of you have questions or you'd like to talk to someone from EnergyCAP, just go ahead and mark yes here, and we will follow up with you. If not, we will not. So please just let us know if you have any interest, and we'll follow up. And with that, Karen, I think I am set to pass it back over to you. And thank you, Carly. Well, thank you again. Or Carly and
Thanks
Marcus.
very much. Yep. Sorry. Thanks very much, everybody. What a great discussion. A big thank you to all of you, to all the panelists, and also, of course, Amber Artrip, and to our sponsor, EnergyCAP. I just want to draw your attention, everybody in the audience, to this slide that's up right now. If you're interested in learning more about the Energy Management Professional, which is a certification that EMA manages, please let us know. And we are holding our annual in-person EMP seminar plus exam at CX Energy, April 28th to 29th in Charlotte, North Carolina, in conjunction with CX Energy. So thanks again, EnergyCAP, Amber, Marcus, Carly. It was a great discussion. We really appreciate it. And this will be up and available on the EMA website within a week, probably by this Friday, actually. And we'll send out an email to everybody letting them know when it's up. And if for some reason you weren't in this session for, I think it's 75% of the length of the session, then you can get that CEU by taking the quiz on the website, and you'll get your CEUs. So thanks again, and that's a wrap.
Thank you, Karen, and thank you to everyone online
Thank you, everyone.